Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Burns, and I'm giving a public lecture. And this public lecture is open for dialogue, discussion, and debate. And it's for everybody out there who is interested in democracy. This lecture took 6 months to research and took a lot of critical reflection and thinking, and so this lecture is not to be taken trivially, and I would ask the general public to respect the contents of this lecture. I would ask those who are public policy makers in government departments around the world to take seriously what I'm about to say and to discuss amongst yourselves the issues that are going to play out within the lecture. The lecture is entitled Democracy, Public Space and Preaching. We begin the lecture. The privatization of public space without due consideration to our democratic rights is a national disgrace, a disgrace that America, the European Union and global community share. The failure to provide clear guidance how our democratic rights relate to public-private ownership space reveals a systematic failure of our political leadership both in local government and national government and international affairs. There needs to be urgent corrective where private enterprises take control of public space. The democratic rights of the local people should be returned. A new creative vision needs to be applied to public space when it is returned. That vision should work with private enterprise as it does bring economic benefits to local people. But private enterprise should work alongside democratic rights. Local government has to have a two-way plan. That plan should be to encourage business to partner with public bodies in the area of public space so that city town centres are helped to develop economically, but also to see that's only part of the picture, but to protect democratic rights of that land and to encourage all communities to take ownership of that land in the exercise of their democratic rights. Those rights being free speech, the right to assemble and religious conscience. When public space is returned, there needs to be a return to a classical view of democracy advocated by John Stuart Mill in his book Liberty. The democracy we see operating in the UK, Europe and America is a parody of democracy. It is a shallow democracy, inconsistent with itself, dogmatic, partisan, and will lead downfall of democracy if not urgently challenged. This shallow democracy is one that will this shallow democracy is the one that will police this public space, and it is not fit to do so. We need a more robust and fair interpretation of our democratic documents, and John Stuart Mill can help us. All those who love and believe in democracy must stand together as one and fight all anti-democratic forces to return public space back to the people. It is the greatest battle we have to face since the Second World War. Next, confrontation and humiliation. I regard Middleton Town Council and Middleton Town Centre Management Company, also Middleton Police, as excellent bodies who do good work, but failed in many areas to protect democracy. How I came to these conclusions was over a period of 2 weeks. I have never been interested in politics, only voting once, and I have never been in political agitation. I'm at heart an old-time gospel preacher of the mold of John Wesley and George Whitefield, more interested in saving souls than political activism. But when I was stopped from preaching in my local town centre, Middleton Town Gardens, on the grounds that the public land had been put in contract with private companies, I was shocked. Shocked that the police, the council and the company all failed to inform me of my democratic rights and failed to see the democratic rights of Middleton people have been taken away. I was also shocked about myself that I did not understand my democratic rights. Also, except for the police, as they were impeccable, the company and the council made me feel I was not valued as a Christian and preacher. I felt duly humiliated. Next, ask not what the Human Rights can do for you, but what you can do for the Human Rights Act. The Human Rights Act provides us all with certain freedoms. In Europe, it provides us with the freedom of thought, the freedom of religious conscience, and to express those beliefs, and finally the freedom to assemble. The intellectual, artistic, religious, and political freedoms of the people are assured. The Act is a good basis for democratic society. Yet my local officials fail to see the privatisation of Middleton Town Centre has taken away the peoples of Middleton's freedom. The problem is more compounded as the UK people show apathy towards these rights. Many feel the Human Rights Act is the meddling antics of Europe. Then you have the media who constantly snipe at the rights, reporting stories like the one about the prisoner who wanted his rights to porn magazines. Public bodies are no better, choosing to implement some rights of the Act, but lamentably failing to inform communities about these rights. What's more, they often fail to have ongoing training for their staff in the application and value of the Act. Then the Human Rights Act is constantly abused by people who apply it only selfishly. They fail to see, as Bernard Shaw said, with every right is a responsibility. Finally, you have the politicians. Some pat themselves on the back feeling all is well as we have these rights. They are full of presumption that democracy will always be. They have a collective amnesia as to the reasons why her sister act in Europe of 1948 came into being. That reason was never would Europe fall under tyranny again. Then you have the politicians who get ejaculation when the words Bill of Rights is muted. You have to walk before you can run. If the UK people cannot get excited in a document that treats all people with love and dignity, then they do not deserve a Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights politicians need to stop taking their Viagra of nationalism and get behind defending the Human Rights Act. In fact, all of us in the UK need to see it as a national emergency to defend the Human Rights Act and to apply it for the use of all our citizens and communities. It must be applied fairly. We all need to stop thinking my rights, but think our rights, their rights. The judiciary sees the problem of responsibility, but it needs to help in a national education program and judicial practice which encourage a more community responsible application of human rights. Next, public space and town management companies. Just to decide, those who are in America, just bear with this because this will have a direct application to you in a second. This leads on to the problem of town management companies. First, I would like to say that I do not wish to take away the rights of business. These management companies have brought economic life to our cities and town centres. However, what they give in economic renewal, they take away in democratic rights. The Middleton Town Centre Management Company is a partnership with local councils and companies. They have a strategy to renew Middleton Town Centre. So far, they have done a good job in bringing economic and social benefits to the Middleton people. But the space is no longer the people's. If they want to use the land, they have to pay. If they pay, they have to have insurance liability and are subject to the company's rules. The company have commercialized what they say as key parts of the town centre, just Middleton Town Gardens. Can the Middleton people now exercise the democratic freedoms on that land now? No, they cannot. In Swinton Town Centre, we see how this works. The Salvation Army wanted to play music and give out leaflets in the town centre. The town management company said yes, but put restrictions. They could give out leaflets but not talk to people. Is this really a democratic society that would put such restrictions and violate our democratic rights? Then the Salvation Army were told they were limited as to when they could have access to the town centre. But what if it was a poet or a political activist or a gay rights activist or a Muslim group? All the community should have the right to use the public space for artistic, religious and political reasons, so long as they respect the rights of others. What's more, these town centre management companies in their strategies have absolutely nothing in their plans to help facilitate local democracy. If you go to the national website of the advisory body to the companies, All-Party Town Centre Management Group, you cannot access their documents which they send to the town management companies unless you are a member. Is this really the democracy we want? On top of this, our Prime Minister sits on this board that is giving the strategic vision for these town management companies. Their website has much vision on the economic side of town centres. It has no vision whatsoever for local democracy and how public space can be used to encourage and protect the democratic rights of the local people. Except that is the management companies are warned not to tamper with Christmas lights as the people like them and they tamper with them at their peril. These companies are mushrooming around the UK and Europe. In America, they are causing lots of problems for the local people in the issue of free speech. In America, there are often court battles, but the ordinary people lose to the big companies. This is also a global problem too. The Robin Hood Act and the Public Space Act. Public space, especially prime public space in town, city and city centres, is too precious to hand over complete control to business. We need a law called, I suggest, the Robin Hood Act. It will give clear guidelines to town management company partnership as to exactly the powers they have on public land and ensure the democratic freedoms of the people. It will call for clarity, correction, creativity and classical democracy in all public bodies. Public bodies will be required to clearly inform the people when they go into these company deals how this affects the local people's democratic rights, and how they as a public body will ensure the people's democratic rights. Next, the law will call for all public bodies to take full control of any land they have sold or contracted to companies. They will do this on behalf of the local so that the people can enjoy and practice their democratic freedoms. Public bodies will be required to do an audit once a year to show how they use the land creatively in encouraging people in democracy. Have they encouraged all the known community, religious and artistic groups to share the space? They will also be required to supervise that space, interpreting the Human Rights Act from a classical model of democracy as set out by John Stuart Mill in his book Liberty. Europe should do the same and call it the Public Space Act. This should be done, however, with the utmost respect for local businesses and due consideration for the rights of companies. I understand the situation is different in America, but some of these policies need to be implemented in public space concerning democracy and the rights of citizens in America too. Public space and violence. The government has inherited a 4-point plan to deal with terrorism in our lands. Part of that plan is to encourage community cohesion so Islamic jihadists are not able to infiltrate young, disaffected Muslim youths. There are whole departments involved in this. There is a general feeling they don't really know how to solve the problem of homegrown jihadists. But taking back prime public space and having more of a creative use of public space would help strengthen democracy and weaken the jihadist movement. Muslim youth should be encouraged to come to public